Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Dynamis pod. This is Robert. Today I'm joined by Jake.
So I'm Jake. Just recently graduated auto technician school about a month ago, and now looking to go into mechanical engineering at a college down in Florida in January.
Very nice. So how you been? Did you already graduate?
Yeah. So I graduated in September, and then I
Okay.
got a job at well, okay, I guess I shouldn't say the company because I plan on slandering them, but
Nice.
yeah, yeah. But I got a job at an electric vehicle company.
Okay.
And, I mean, they paid me pretty good money. The job was down in it was down in DC. It's in Arlington.
Okay.
So I was pretty hyped for it, but it didn't work out very well. It was a really bad company to work for, and I ended up
Yeah.
leaving pretty quick.
How long was you there?
2 days. Yeah.
2 days.
Yeah, that's all
That
I
must
needed.
that must have been really bad.
Yeah. Like nobody knew what was happening. The managers, I mean, they weren't doing their job. They didn't like it was really just they didn't tell me anything. I didn't know when I was leaving. I didn't know when my day ended. I didn't know when lunch was. I mean, everybody there was also really rude for like no reason. It was pretty weird. But
That's
I was like,
strange.
and then the commute was like way crazier than Google Maps said. It turned out to be 3 hours instead of like an hour 30. And I
Three
was
hours.
so I was getting up at 3 a.m., driving, getting to work at like 7, and then like nobody would talk to me when I was there. All the employees like beef with me for like I don't know why. And I was like, I'm not doing this every day. It's not worth the money. So it was a good life lesson, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, it all ends up being education, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the way it is.
But I mean, I'm
So,
not too worried about getting fired or whatever from there because I quit. But now, I kind of so my goal when I came home was just to learn like the most trades possible, and
right.
so now I'm working as like a farmhand, and
Okay.
I'm doing a bunch of stuff there. So electrical, running plumbing, building, running tractors, all that kind of stuff. So I'm learning everything I wanted to learn.
That kind of goes hand in hand with you wanting to do engineering school, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, mechanical engineering, it doesn't really, it kind of goes into everything. That's kind of why I want to do it. I'd rather do aerospace, but it's a very niche market. So
Yeah,
I feel like if I go mechanical, I can get the same skills an aerospace engineer would have, and I could just still branch out if necessary.
exactly. Yeah, you should definitely be able to do that.
Yeah. So it's weird because the schools, like the application process is very like expedited.
Mhm.
You apply before November, and then they accept you like late December, and then you go in
Okay.
January. So it's very fast process.
Yeah, what school was it?
I don't know. God, I'm just applying to like 15. I'm just kind of shooting a shotgun, and then whoever accepts me, I'm gonna do research on their programs and everything and choose off of that list.
I gotcha. Any, prominent names that we would, recognize?
Yeah, FSU, University of Central Florida,
I gotcha.
um, FAU, Florida Atlantic, down in Miami, schools like that.
And what was the school you were taking, classes with when you were at Wyotek? You were
That was
taking
just
college courses
yeah,
also on top of that.
that was just my community college here, just so
I
I could
gotcha.
save money and I'd get a nice transfer GPA, get out and go to a
Exactly.
better school.
Yeah, that's awesome. So September, huh? You've been out
Yeah,
for just not really that long then.
no, I've been out for
That's
about what, probably about a month. I think I graduated
yeah,
about a month ago to the day. I think the 19th.
I gotcha. So you probably graduated in the same class that, Tim Shearer was in maybe 3
Yeah.
weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think he gave the commencement speech, if I remember right.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was in the running for that. I didn't get it though. Pretty
yeah.
sad about that, but what are you gonna do?
Did it turn out okay?
Yeah, it was all right. It was a decent speech, but
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
I've been in contact with him, that's why I was wondering. He had gotten that job at, the hot rod place and didn't seem like it was gonna work out, and it looks like he got a job at a BMW dealership of all places, so,
Yeah.
yeah, left school,
Uh,
and now he's at BMW, and now I teach at BMW, it's kinda hilarious.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like he's like, "Isn't that weird?" I'm like, "Well, that's kind of a twist of fate, you know?
Mhm.
It's how things go sometimes." So,
I don't know.
have you been writing?
No, I've been super busy. I had to put out one paper just to like, get something out, but
Sure.
I'm starting one on just like the entirety of astrophysics and just
Okay.
kind of seeing as much that as I can cover at once.
Yeah.
I've got a list of the topics I could probably pull up if you're curious.
Yeah, I'm curious. I just hadn't seen anything come through for a bit. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I've been trying. I've just been busy. It's hard to find the motivation really, especially because like I know like probably you are the only person who reads it, so it makes it a little.
Nah, I'm sure other people read it also. But you're right. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of time to even put one together. I mean, when you write one, you're putting together 5 to 10 pages worth of information.
Yeah,
So,
I don't like to get like half of the concept. I want to understand all of it. You know, if I'm gonna research it,
right.
I'm gonna take my time doing it. I might as well do it fully.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Okay, well, there's probably about 50 things on here, but yeah, it's just like I mean, I don't know. The last paper I wrote,
Sounds like scattergun.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. I just want to know as much as possible. The last one I wrote was on that was on quantum gravity theory. So that one I thought that one was cool because the way I view quantum gravity theory is like there was Newton who discovered the early gravity, right? And he had these weird,
Hmm.
he had a couple ideas that weren't that good. So Einstein comes along and he takes Newton's words and he's like, all right, well, it's actually a little bit like this, right? And now Einstein and his theory of relativity is kind of, it struggles in the quantum area. So now we need to have another Einstein do what he did to Newton to him and make a quantum gravity theory. And that excites me. And that's what string
Yeah.
theory is an attempt to solve, you know.
Yeah. Do you think they're kind of barking up the wrong tree with string theory?
I
Because it's got some,
like
as of late, it's got some pretty heavy hitter detractors. It seems like
mm,
some
what I've
people that are out there kind of talking against it.
Yeah. So string theory is pretty debated. What I've heard about it is it's not very it's very mathematically apt, but it doesn't really work with our current understanding of physics. But I mean that's not like that bad because our understanding of physics is very limited and we learn more of that, you know. It's like you said I don't know, probably a year ago when you said knowledge is like an ocean, the further out you go, the more there is, the more you see. So I think that
Yeah.
that's kind of a big thing where we don't understand physics, so we can't really say string theory is not gonna happen. It's not true,
Right.
but it's really just like a gamble.
My big issue with it is like, I know that it's not like well, I guess they gatekeep, like the scientists gatekeep quite a bit from what it seems like. And they're all in the runnings for getting these national, sciences grants. So they have to write all these long papers even to get the money. And it's almost like they've boxed out any other competing ideas. They've really went kind of all in on string theory from what I've read about it, and what I know about it. And mathematically, from what I've read, mathematically, it doesn't wash out. And that's the issues. The math doesn't uphold the 10 dimensions of space and the one dimension of time. So from what
Yeah,
I've read about it, that's the deepest that they've got so far with it is 10 dimensions of space and one dimension of time. And the math doesn't work. So, and they've dealt with string theory now for almost as long as they've dealt with quantum theory.
yeah.
So string theory's been around about 40 years, I think.
I think it's the
And
70s. Yeah, too.
yeah, there's been Eric Weinstein was probably the most vocal of all the people so far that I've heard that's basically come out and said like, why are we why are we stagnant in what we're discovering as of right now in the sciences? And he kind of looks backwards towards actually in the 70s, like you just said, and basically they've poured everything, they've put all their eggs in one basket. And quantum has kind of suffered because of it. I was just listening to a podcast 2 days ago on the way home, might have actually been yesterday afternoon. Leonard Susskind was on there and they were bringing up Feynman. And he was trying to explain like the holes that he's seen in it and that kind of thing. But from what I know, he's been part of it. Feynman, before he died, Feynman was not. He kind of thought completely against it. I don't know why he thought completely against it. I haven't heard any evidence that he's seen that he, was for it or against it. But from what I know, he was pretty deep into quantum electrodynamics, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah,
Of course, there's a reason he won the Nobel Prize in like '65, I think. Yeah, it's an interesting area, man. Like you said, I mean, it is one of the most difficult things they're trying to do is trying to put everything together and try to make a grand unified theory of physics. And I mean, Feynman even said he just thinks it's not plausible hypothesis to put together to do that. Some of these things may have started out together, but nuclear strong force, nuclear weak force, gravity, and electricity, but electromagnetism. But now that they're split, you know, their theories, even on the Big Bang, sometimes doesn't hold any weight. So there was a lot of talk when that even came about. They were trying to talk about static theory on the universe, that basically it had just always been, and it wasn't growing, and it didn't get bigger, and there was no Big Bang. But
Yeah. So the Big Bang, I've done a good bit of research into that because I
mhm,
enjoy apologetics, arguing the Bible, and the Big Bang's obviously a debated topic. So the way I look at it is we do know that the universe is expanding through redshift, which is, just the way we read the waves, we can tell which direction they're heading in. So a new leading theory I've seen is that the universe actually expands, gets to a certain point, and then contracts in and then comes back out, and that causes the Big Bang. But what that does is absolutely nothing because that doesn't solve the big question of the Big Bang, which is where did that originate from? And
right.
a lot of people like to say, I've seen a couple people, try to combine God and science, right? So they combine God and like evolution. You can't. I mean, you can't really do that with like what the Bible says. It's very hard to do that because
Hmm.
God created the heavens and the earth. So it's possible he could have created it through an explosion, but the stuff, I don't know. It's that's a weird like topic.
Sure. What do you know about the fine structure
Fine
constant?
tuning.
Yeah, the fine tune
Yeah.
universe theory.
So I've done I love actually that's my favorite. I've done so much research on the fine tuning. I love it. It's the funniest thing
Yeah,
ever because so I like when you argue with some people, they like to get, personal and attack you. And I think
sure.
it's funny. I really enjoy it because I'm talking to somebody who's, super backed on science and they're like, how can you just ignore logic? Well, I think it's funny to bring in logic because the way I look at it, you got two sides. You got either there's a God, he's an omniscient being, and he created us in the universe in a smart and meaningful way, and that's why everything works together. Or
Like
you have,
Pascal's wager.
yeah, yeah, or
Hmm.
an impossible probability that we are here. And I don't remember the number. I tried to put it because it's just such a large number, like a one in whatever chance. It's such a
Hmm.
large number, I couldn't comprehend it. I put it onto a Google Doc. I think in like size 12 font, it was about 30 something pages of a Google Doc of a number. And if any one of those
Of a
digits is off,
number,
yep,
exactly.
we're not here. And I mean, that's just like you can't call that logic, and that's just you can't do that. And they like to say that it's inevitable, right? Like we have to have been created eventually because the universe is infinite and time is just like infinite, and it's always been there. It's always going to keep being there. But I mean, at that point, like that's just a cop out, right? You can just say, oh yeah, but it's got
Sure.
to happen eventually. But I don't know.
Well, the longer it goes, it seems like science itself is kind of pointing towards, in my opinion, it's pointing towards a creator. It's
Yeah,
pointing towards something that did create us. So,
yeah,
and it created everything. I mean, like you said, that even if it's a, contracting universe theory where it's a big bang and then it contracts and, you have an inflation again after the big bang, another big bang, it's like, it still doesn't explain the reason for matter, doesn't explain the reason why we're here. It doesn't explain the fine structure constant, because if it's 4% off one direction or the other, carbon couldn't have formed in stars. We couldn't have been here because of that. And basically, none of it works if you don't have that. 1 over 137 is the number that they use to represent it.
yeah.
But it's like it doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. If you change literally any minute detail, then we wouldn't be here. I mean, I remember studying DNA and the
Hmm.
the structure of it and everything and the
Sure.
complexity, and it's just like I don't understand how people can see that and just be like, oh wow, we're lucky. Like
Yeah. It's,
how lucky can you get so many
yeah.
times? Like it's just I just don't see the logic of that. There has to be
Yeah.
a more powerful creator to put us here.
Yeah, and to that, I mean, it's like someone you said you were arguing with you, like, you be logical. And like you said, you just told me, it's like the logical thing would be is to follow what you're seeing that's evidentiary, that's been done through experiment, and the things that people are finding, like with CERN, with the LHC, with the SLAC.
Higgs
There's a
boson
bunch
too.
of different particle, yeah, there's a bunch of different particle accelerators that over the last 60 years has found all kinds of things, on the subatomic particle level that people had no idea that even existed, at certain energy levels. So it's pretty wild that they can ignore those things and not see the beauty in it. I think Feynman actually had said that it looks like God spoke in the language of mathematics and he has put the entire universe together, but we don't know how he pushed the pencil. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
an
That's what I
interesting way
put
to
it.
think about it. But I mean, people have been trying forever, all the way back to the beginning of science, when some of these people that were in science itself were religious people and they were searching for God, like Pascal's wager, like Francis Bacon, like up through, like you were saying, Isaac Newton. I mean, people don't realize the reason that Newton was able to make the discoveries that he made was because he was in quarantine. It was
Yeah.
during the bubonic plague, the
Yeah.
Black Death, and he was stuck in Cambridge in a
Yeah.
in a room.
Yeah.
So a lot of time to think to himself.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to bring up the beginning of science, right? So the way I view that is science is so like incorrect constantly. It's like, and we
Sure,
so back
it's
in the
always
day,
evolving.
it's always
If
evolving.
there's something that evolves, it's definitely that, right?
Yeah, yeah. So to take it at face value as fact is absurd to me because the Bible
Yeah.
is something that throughout history is very unchanging. It's very factual, and if looked at as a factual piece of scripture, or not even scripture, just like
Mhm.
words, right? I don't know the word for it, but a manuscript, I guess.
As a historical book too, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
tons
that's
of
yeah,
things through archaeology that they're finding
confirmed.
that seems to confirm quite a few of the
Yeah,
stories, like the Dead Sea Scrolls,
yep,
like any of the like the Rosetta Stone. They've been able to look, all the way back through, and in the Greek that unlocked all the hieroglyphics in Egypt. Like there's a lot of knowledge. I always think about the passage in Daniel tells him to shut up the book until the end of times, when knowledge shall be increased and the people shall run to and fro. It's like if
yeah,
there was ever a time where knowledge has been increased and people run to and fro, it's definitely now,
yeah.
because I mean, people are always moving,
Yeah, so I mean, you've got this book that's it's unchanging throughout history, and then you've got science who likes to attempt to contradict the book, through like Charles Darwin and all that, and then
Uh-huh.
it's wavering. It changes constantly
Yeah.
because we constantly discover new things that are more complex than we could have ever even anticipated or understood, and
Yeah.
it really just all points towards a God, and I don't see how we can talk about logic and not bring up the Bible. I don't get
Right.
that.
So one of the things that's in Origin of Species in Darwin's book, one of the things he mentions in there, he basically says that his hypothesis completely gets blown away if we can't figure out how it is that the eye does what it does. And we still don't fully understand how the eye even works, as far as the back of it, the optic nerve, and how it is that there's been some people that's been neurologists who have actually talked about the eye being so close to like a miniature brain, the way that it operates. It has certain things that it can do that they didn't realize just 10, 20 years ago, that it's so intricate to the brain itself, because through the optic nerve. Darwin himself said, if we can't replicate that, if we don't understand how it works, then his theory is completely shot. And
Yeah.
there's just a couple things in the book that he wrote that kind of contradicts the hypothesis that he come up with.
Yeah. So two things about that. I've read through a little bit of Darwin's book just out of curiosity, and I find it very interesting.
Well,
Like
and you
this,
should, right? You should read
yeah,
things that you don't
yeah,
agree
the
with to find
contrary.
out. Yeah, and be able to steel man those things.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like a subtitle of the book is a fight for superior races or something along those lines, and I find it very interesting that Darwin, so people say that, he was affected by his time and stuff. Well, I mean, this book is a scientific book. This is like what his scientific discovery. And he said that pretty much black people are lesser than white people and they should be enslaved and controlled because they
Yeah,
were
there was
closer to
a
monkeys than us.
there was a lot of eugenics that used to go on with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And it's just like that's the guy we're listening to. You know what I mean? And it's just
Yeah,
like if we're I mean, I don't see that guy. He's
yeah.
affected by
It's
his time, of course. So why are we
the
listening to him
Margaret
now?
the Margaret Sangers, the euthanasia movement, eugenics, all that kind of stuff stems from early America, and a lot of people don't realize, because they're not taught this and they don't go and search out the information. but the Nazis themselves actually got most of what they were trying to implement in Germany from us. They got it from 1920s America and Edward Bernays, who is kind of like the godfather of propaganda in our country. And one of the things he came up with was, why does everybody eat the breakfast the way that they do, where it's, eggs, bacon, and toast? And that was Bernays pushing that as a well-rounded meal. And they used that as this way to push that onto the public. And it still sticks to this day. Now, you might say, people could say, well, people were going to eat that anyways, and maybe that would have just fell into place. But you can go back and read and look up that Bernays is the person that came up with that. And it's still pretty prominent even to this day. You're looking at over 100 years ago is when all that went down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot to ponder, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, back to the eyes, I guess. I went on when I graduated Biotech, right? Wyoming's here. I live over here, and I
Mhm.
kind of went down to California and then back up throughout the whole country. My buddy flew out, and we went on a little cross country trip. And
Sure.
we were in Los Angeles at this like market, and they had this thing where it was a mirror and like an O-ring light behind it, and you could look into it and you
Mhm.
could see a very clear image of your eye. And I don't know if you've ever seen one, but I mean, it looked crazy. I was looking at mine, and so mine are actually like it's very weird. I watched a video on it the other day, but the
Mhm.
color of your eyes is dependent on like where you're from, and like it actually helps with different things, which is I
Yeah.
think very cool to look at. But yeah, so mine were like green, and you could see like depth in the eye. You could see like
Mhm.
different layers of it. And I remember when I was
Yeah.
younger, my mom used to do a lot of research on like if you have like an issue in your liver, you can actually it'll
Mhm.
show in your eye with like a black dot. And it's
Sure.
crazy how interconnected everything is.
Yeah, the entire system's interconnected, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, one spot in the body can be ill and it can show up in other places. Like I mean, sure, you probably heard about people that have seen people with like their eyes bulging on TV, and they contact through, however they can get a hold of them from the public. And they're like, hey, you need to go get your thyroid checked. Like that's one of the symptoms of that, having a bad thyroid is your eyes, kind of bulge, and people have pressure on them and that kind of stuff. But yeah, yeah, you're right. And the iris is, it's pretty amazing the way that it works. I mean, it's basically like muscle, and it's in charge of moving the amount of light, the opening, the window to the soul, the Bible calls it. It's like it's the thing that actually allows light into your eye to be able to focus, with what you're looking at. And think about that. It's pretty wild. Now you read Quantum Electrodynamics, The Strange Theory of Light and Matter, when you was in Biotech as an additional thing to do, the book that I had there. What's some takeaways that you got out of that book now that you're looking at? It's probably been what, about a year and 2 months ago that you've read that?
Yeah. So my biggest takeaway from that book was actually that it's not that hard. Um, and I think that that's a mindset that a lot of people need to start taking.
Hmm.
It's honestly crazy. I was reading that book and I was reading it and I was thinking like, sounds insanely complicated, but Feynman does a really good job of like simpling things down so anybody who even with the not the slightest understanding can comprehend it. So I start understanding
Sure.
this and I'm like explaining it to my friend and they're like, what's it called? And I'm like, oh, it's called quantum electrodynamics. And I'm thinking like, oh, like literally 5 hours ago, I would have had. If you would have told me that you were going to tell me about quantum electricity, I would be like, I can't do that.
Right.
People limit themselves so much, and I see it a lot also with cars. Like
Hmm.
earlier today, some kid called me to come like look at his car. He was like stuck in a parking lot, and I mean, I
Sure.
went over there, and he was like, it's making this like really loud clanking noise from the back, and I was like, all right, turn it on. So it starts making the clanking noise. I lay under the car and I grab the heat shield because it was just rattling on the
Yeah.
muffler. I was like, dude, people get so scared when it comes to cars. It's like just brute force it. Just like do stuff. In cars, it's a bad idea to brute force depending on what it is. If you're just shotgunning
Sure.
parts at it, you're gonna lose a lot of money. But try stuff. And I think that people just like fear knowledge and they just think something's way too complicated. And I know this
Yeah.
because I do the same thing with string theory. When I look at string theory, I think I can't understand that. And weirdly enough, string theory is the only thing I've ever researched that I feel like I don't fully comprehend. And now also
Hmm.
string theory is, one of the most complicated things ever. But it's like people would take a mindset of I can't do this. I can't understand that. I'm not I just don't I don't have it like that. They
Hmm.
do. and nobody ever realized it. And that's what I've been trying to tell so many people this whole time. That's why I write these papers. I try to write them very like rudimentary, so somebody with zero previous knowledge can go in, read it, and
Yep.
realize that they understand it, and then further their knowledge. That's my whole goal with writing them.
Yeah. Yeah, they're I mean, I've read quite a few of them that you've put on there, and they're very down to earth. They're very, accessible, you'd call it. People, like you said, people that have never seen the concept, never heard of the concepts. You do a real good job of laying them out in such a way chronologically. Like you said, you don't use, like, really large technical jargon if you don't have to, and they are definitely accessible to the public. What is your Substack? Let everybody know what your Substack is.
I actually don't even know. I think it's Rocket International Publishing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's it. What's the subtitle? Because I think the subtitle's hilarious.
I really don't remember. Let me check.
You don't remember?
I haven't looked at
You're
it
like
in a
you're
minute.
like, it's not really a rocket company, and it's not really a publishing company.
But that's what it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Not a rocket company, not a publishing company. Neither. Yeah.
yep, neither one. And it's I mean, it's something that I tried to push that, have the students do is, the extracurricular, the writing part, you know? Because when you're in college, when you're searching out knowledge, I think sometimes it's good to have someone that tries to grab you by the hand and say, "Here, go do this thing that maybe you've never done and try it and see what it's like, see if you like it." And I can't tell you how many students that wrote some of those essays that either wrote a really raw essay that you was like, "Wow, okay, this person's actually been through quite a bit in their life, you know, even a short life, you know, 17-year-old kid." And then you read some that's like, okay, well, this person's got an amazing talent for being able to tell a story, which is a lost art, by the way. And then you find it's like, okay, well, this person has a really good way of speaking in such a manner that they can take technical data like you're able to do with your stories that you put in yours. And it's an awesome outlet that you can use that to exercise your mind and get even smarter as you're moving along. And most people, like you said, they don't understand or they don't try to push themselves to try that new thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it does sound like it's falling apart, you know,
Yeah.
but it's like you don't have to be that afraid of it, like you were saying.
Yeah.
Was that a class that you ended up doing as a double, or was that something you'd signed up for as you signed up?
I signed up for high performance and then I went
Okay,
there. So pretty much what happened was I hated college, right? I was in for architecture. And I was only in architecture because I liked Minecraft. I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So I was in for
sure.
architecture and I was like, I don't want to do this. I have no motivation and I really don't care. I was
Hmm.
like, you know what? I like cars. Let me just go to trade school. Went for I don't know, 1,500 miles, you know, across the country to Wyoming.
Sure.
And I went in thinking like, you know, I'm just gonna try to keep my head down and learn as much as possible. And I
Hmm.
can't do that. I can't keep my head down. I'm very social. So that I failed almost immediately. And I was enjoying learning. I was enjoying all the stuff I was learning. And then you had us write that essay. And I remember I wrote the essay in maybe an hour, and everybody
Hmm.
else was talking about like, you know, like they really didn't want to do it, and like I was gonna take a very long time. And I
Sure.
was like I don't understand how you guys don't find this fun. And then I asked you obviously if I could make it a little bit longer, and then I made it way longer, and then that made me realize I honestly really enjoyed that. So
Sure.
and then I got that book on quantum mechanics, so I started learning, and I realized like I was limiting myself a lot, and I don't really know what happened. It was kind of like a switch got flipped and I started just to really enjoy learning and want to learn as much as possible. So going from
Yeah.
dropping out of college because I didn't want to learn to studying quantum mechanics on my own was just something I never saw myself doing. And
Yeah.
so with that, I was like, you know what? I don't really want to do high performance anymore. I want to get an associate's degree and I want to be able to transfer out of biotech to another college and go for engineering. I switched to ASM, and ASM also I did a lot of business classes at college. I did accounting.
Hmm.
I did you know a couple of them, and I don't even really remember because I didn't care. But ASM was honestly really good. It was a really good class. It was very
Hmm.
you know packed, but it was very like easy to like swallow information. It was, I don't know. I really enjoyed the class. My favorite thing about it was we got to do these things called micro teaches, which
Hmm.
amazing concept. But pretty much you make a PowerPoint on something and then you present it in front of the class, and it has to be like 15
Sure.
minutes. And I thought that was great because a lot of those kids, you know, like weren't that good at researching or you know weren't like they didn't want to speak in front of people, and those are two very big skills that'll help you anywhere
Exactly.
in life. So getting them out of that comfort zone, getting them able to do that and being able to talk was a great idea. And initially it had to be on cars, and I really like
Hmm.
I didn't want to do it on cars. I wanted to do something cooler. So I did my first one on it was on electrochromic windows, which are those auto dimming windows and mirrors and
Sure.
everything. And it was on
Yep.
the quantum electro dynamics behind that and how that works and the
Sure.
electromagnetic spectrum. I covered a lot of stuff. And
Light polarization,
yeah,
all that kind of stuff.
I covered a lot in it. And I hope a lot of people learned a lot. And then my
I was
next
going to
one.
ask you I was going to ask you what was the reception on that kind of information, and how would the students take it?
So, okay, at first, right, with that first one, everybody was like they were trying really hard to pay attention and they got some of it. That's good.
Sure.
So the next one I did it on general relativity, and I covered just some like very surface level stuff, like time dilation,
Sure.
and I try to use
Yep.
analogies to really help people understand it. Like I said, time isn't a theoretical thing where we can't see it or anything. It's kind of physical.
Right.
Imagine I explained gravity wells, and if you imagine time moving through like a field of honey, that would be a good way to
Hmm.
look at how time can slow. I tried to put it in ways that were just like very, if somebody wasn't like hardly paying attention, they could still understand it. I think that people actually did start learning stuff and they started enjoying it. I found it great because I would finish a discussion and these kids would start asking me questions. And that only came later. And the questions, I mean, was it related? Not really. But I found that if I put a slide at the end about theoretical information, so
Sure.
with electrochromic windows, I talked about that same technology with photovoltaic sensors and how we could turn that into like a holographic screen in the future. And I started doing that with all of my slides and having information that kids could read at the end and then ask me questions and I could further explain that and they'd listen a lot more. And it kind of turned into a thing of like we were talking about, gravity and then somebody would ask me about nuclear fusion, and I'd be like, okay, that's
Hmm.
not even close to what we're talking about, but I still answer the question. I really felt like it helped get people engaged, but towards the end, people stopped caring about, they stopped listening. But I mean, that's
Well,
whatever it happens.
you have to remember too, like with nuclear, with fusion like that. I mean, the reason that the sun is able to do what it does is because of gravity.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah,
not like it's not connected, because it has to have that amount of gravity to be able to force the hydrogen together to fuse and make what, helium-3, I think is what it makes. So, and I mean, it transfers like megatons of material every second to stay lit the way that it is right now. So, I mean, you weren't far off. I mean, it's still connected. It's all interconnected,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's not like
I read,
a
I think
sensor.
I read one time that if Jupiter was 17 times more massive than it is right now, we would actually have a two-star system in our solar system. So it would be a brown dwarf, is what it would be as far as a star. And we would possibly have two stars that would actually look like the planet out of Star Wars, Tatooine, because it had two suns.
Yeah, yeah, I had to, yeah, huh? Yeah, isn't Jupiter a
Yeah.
gas planet?
Yeah, it's a very,
Yeah,
very large gas planet, but
yeah.
that's the thing. It's if it was more massive than it is with the gases that it has, if it had 17 times more mass than it does, not necessarily size, just mass, it would have lit. It would have lit off and it would be a star.
Yeah, the sun in fusion, that reminds me like of on Earth, we have our ways of creating power. And it's
Hmm.
weird because we default to following what nature does, right? And we
Hmm.
did what plants do with you know, solar power, and now we're trying to replicate what the sun does with fusion.
Yeah,
And it's like the answers we're searching for are already created and they're already all over nature. And I mean,
yeah,
back to that random thing, whatever, but that well, however you look at it, they're there, and we can look at that and see how we should do what we want to do off of what nature has already done. And I think that's an
right.
interesting way that a lot of people don't look at life like that, but
No, but I think those are called what, tokamak reactors
that's a
that they
kind of
use
them,
for
yeah.
fusion. Yeah, to
Yeah,
use
there's a couple.
the toroidal electromagnetism to hold the material and basically try to crush it and force it together.
Yeah, they use a lot of plasma around the outside, like pretty much an electromagnetic field of plasma to spin
Yeah,
around, fuse them together.
yeah, it's pretty wild,
Yeah, yeah.
wild stuff.
Yeah, and that also reminds me of like I recently watched this YouTube video, and it was just some like a guy, he was playing a video game, but pretty
Hmm.
much he had about like 10 people on his team, and every other team around him, it was like a survival game. Every other team around him had like 20, 30 people. And
Sure.
he was like a big history geek. He loved he was
Right.
copying Cicero. He also copied Napoleon, is Caesar,
Exactly.
and he's looking at what these three guys did.
Alexander.
Yep,
Alex.
Alexander the Great. Yep, he was in there too. And he's looking at what these three guys did, and with just 10 people, he manipulated 200 people into like fearing him and like listening to him. And it's so crazy how that's what I started doing personally is now if I run into a conflict, I will look in history what was done. And
Mhm.
and if it failed, then I'll do the opposite. If it worked, I'll do that. And I think that we need to like as people we need to study history a lot more. History is very important because the
Well,
past repeats
we're
itself.
not presented we're not presented with it, right? Like,
Yeah.
I know for a fact, even when I went to high school, we weren't presented with things that I've learned since I've left, like valuable things, like you were just talking about Cicero and, Alexander the Great and the Caesars, Marcus Aurelius. They don't teach any of that stuff. They don't get into the things that actually set people's souls on fire to want to learn. Like you were talking about earlier, like you did the essay and you read a book and like you said, a switch goes off and you're like, holy cow, like I actually love doing this. This is fun. And I mean, it ends up becoming a double-edged sword because to be honest, I didn't even go to sleep last night. I've been awake since yesterday morning at like 4 o'clock in the morning because been excited, wanting to do this. I got stuff behind me I've been working on. So like I was just working on my poster boards for work and listening to music, listening to podcasts, listening to lectures, Feynman lectures I've been listening to for 2 weeks now. Like everything that's on the internet that's Richard Feynman's lectures or has anything to do with quantum electrodynamics, the theory of light, Thomas Young, double slit experiment, all that kind of stuff. Been listening to it over and over again. Some of these lectures I've listened to 2 or 3 times, and some of them are like, I don't know, hour long, hour and a half long. Some of them are 8 parts. Like I've listened to all of them. And it's because I enjoy doing it. It's like it's almost like it's second nature at this point.
Hmm. Yeah. And I mean, really, if you look at like ancient tribes, right?
Yeah.
They looked at their elders. Like that was a big thing was elders. And the reason is because
Yeah.
elders have seen mistakes made and they know how to like, you know, play off of
Yep.
that. And having to look at elders and then
You know
having
what
the
the
knowledge we have. It's
you
just
know
it
what the Greek you know what the Greek word for elders are?
I do not.
Presbytery. You ever heard of a Presbyterian church?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
Presbyterian,
where
yeah.
that word comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, there is a council of elders in the church that operate the church according to the will of God. So yeah, it's pretty wild. You just brought that up, and that's immediately what hit me is like, oh yeah, the presbytery.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
right. We don't look to the past. We don't look at any of that kind of stuff. And because we don't, we're forever walking through time like completely hamstringed. We're, handicapped and we're blind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just especially with, so I mean, they had to talk to elders who only lived so long, but now we have the entirety or a lot of history at our fingertips, literally a
Yeah.
Google search away. And it's just so crazy how people will sit there. And I've seen discussions and people like get mad at me for it and they call me Mr. Google because we'll be like discussing something and I'll Google it to make sure I'm right. But
Hmm.
why would we just guess when all of the knowledge is right there online? The fact that people don't use Google nearly enough, it amazes me, honestly.
Well, and that's one of those things that in the future, because there's a huge fight over information, right? And one of people say that history is written by the victors, right? The
Yeah,
people that
yeah,
that won. Not entirely true, because there is some alternate history that's out there that you can go and find out, and that has been proven to be fact. Like, I mean, just like what is it? Herculaneum, one of the cities um, on the coast of Turkey at this point, but it used to be part of Greece. People had thought that it didn't exist. Like they had just, oh, it's a fable. Just like with the city of Troy, is the same thing. No, that's a fable. And then as archaeology started going in and looking at some of this stuff, they ended up finding both of those cities. They're a real city. So it's like there's alternate things that are out there that we still, I guarantee we've not even scratched the surface on, even on our own planet. So there's tons of stuff out there to be found.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
But people don't use history. They don't,
Nope,
like you said, they
never.
don't go backwards near enough. Don't, They don't use the knowledge of those who came before them. And honestly, the Bible has a lot of that in it. It's like a repository of knowledge that you can pull apart, you can expound upon. There's concordances that you can go get. I used to really love apologetics also, like the same thing you mentioned earlier about being able to try to make a case for the reasons that you have any type of faith at all or what you believe in.
Yeah.
People, if you go ask people now what they believe in, for the most part, they probably don't know. And even if they did know, they may not be able to articulate it in such a way that they could convey it to another human being.
Yeah. And I think that that is, oh man, it's so sad to see what a lot of people, especially my age, are just doing
Hmm.
with their free time now. And I mean, it
Oh
might
yeah.
sound like a random point a take on that, but it's like, I mean, I have a buddy and I pester him on it constantly. I'm like, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like
Hmm.
you have no aspirations, you have no like future, like and it sounds very harsh, it does, and I get that, but that's what people need. I he just doesn't care.
This swift kick in the pants, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I'm telling him, I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, when was the last time you had fun? And he's like, maybe like 4 months ago. What are you doing? Why? Well, you get one life, and this is how you're spending it. And he's like, why do you care? Why are you telling me this? I'm like, dude, in 10 years, you're gonna wake up one day and you realize, what have I been doing? And you're gonna try to start living life, but it's too late. But you've already got, bills that you got to pay. You have to keep the job you have. You can't move, and you're stuck in a situation you don't want to be in, and you don't enjoy life. And I think it all goes down to critical thinking. And people just they don't think anymore. People hate being alone with their thoughts, and they want to be surrounded by entertainment all the time and constantly getting dopamine. And it's like, stop doing that. I remember, there's my friends were trying to get me to play this one thing for a very long time, and it's like a mod on a already created game, and the mod is called Create, so you can pretty much use like gears and everything and create farms and stuff within the game. So it's in Minecraft. And for a long time I was like, I don't want to play that. But then I was like, you know what? Let me try. So I went into a world by myself and I pulled out these gears and I just started playing around. And just like a transmission, I use a large gear, spun a small gear
Hmm.
to spin it faster. And I realized that that works in the game. And I was like, wait a second, hold on, I might like this. So I just started playing around. And
Right.
now I'm learning about like real systems within a game. And it's just by brute force. I'm not like searching tutorials. I'm just guessing. And I'm like, oh, hey, that works. Like, oh, and then I feel better about myself and I continue going further. But people
Yeah.
don't do that nowadays. People will sit there and they watch a tutorial and they build a farm or whatever, and then that's it. And they
One,
don't actually think.
they also get stuck in the game, right?
Hmm.
Like there's people that literally go home from school or go home from work and they plug in and they might play till 1 o'clock in the morning, got to be at work at 6, or maybe 5 in the morning. And it's like they played the whole afternoon. And like what happened, like you said, I mean, the time spent is the thing that people are getting robbed of
Yeah.
that they don't
Yeah.
realize. Like there is an entire, like the meme, go touch grass. It's like that. There's tons of people that don't experience,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
real
No.
life. They're experiencing a substitute for life, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's wild because like it's like any form of intelligent like conversation you try to have with him, any sort of critical thinking, and he's very blatant about it. He's like, I don't think. I don't like to think. What?
At
What? Like
least
that's
at least he knows that though, right? Because it
yeah.
once you're able to diagnose what could be the issue, now at least he's got a foot and a leg up on maybe being able to pull himself out of that.
Yeah, he just doesn't see it as an
Some people
issue.
don't even know it.
Yeah, that's even worse. And
Yeah.
I mean, and this kid in particular, I actually visited him. He lives in LA. So I've been playing video games with him
Hmm.
for 3, 4 years, and I was down there. So
Right.
I went and I picked him up. We went go-karting and stuff, and we had fun. And he told me like that was like the last time he had fun. And then before that was like
Yeah.
a year. And I was like, dude, like I do that, what I did with you, I do that every day.
Yeah.
Like go out and start living life. And he's like, well, it's just not important to me to have fun. I don't get
He's
that.
he's not stepped outside of Plato's cave yet.
Yeah. Yeah, with the fire and stuff. The allegory.
Yeah.
I remember that very, very clearly. I was thinking about that like 30 minutes ago, actually. Remember that very
Yep.
clearly.
It's
But
out of the
yeah,
Republic.
hmm yeah, it's I don't know. It's just so wild to me that people just they don't care, and it's just it's a huge issue, and I think that TikTok is a big part of it. I've
It
deleted
is.
TikTok probably 3 times in my life, which is
I
very,
only use it to share this podcast.
yeah, that's honestly how you
I
should do it. Yeah, 'cause I mean,
stay as far away from it as possible.
I've mentioned what, like probably 3, 4 videos I've seen so far on this podcast. I've brought them up,
Yeah,
and none of them were from TikTok. Not a single one. And it's because you don't remember anything. I mean, you sit on TikTok and you just waste time, and that's all you do. You just like, and that's what kids do. They get home from school and they're like, "Well, I got to go to school tomorrow," and they sit on TikTok and they get up, they go eat
yep,
dinner, and they get back on TikTok, and then that's life.
yeah.
And at a certain point, you're gonna wake up
I've
and
seen
you're gonna
people have it
realize,
on their television, like,
yeah,
because of
yeah,
Roku now and because of smart TVs, you can put all that stuff right on your TV, and
yeah.
the same thing, it's like the same scroll. It's like it just over and over and over again. It's like, there's no way. I couldn't do that. To be honest, I'd rather go outside and do manual labor and go mow my lawn
Yeah, that's way better for
rather
you
than
and your brain.
yeah.
Yeah,
Plus, it makes the place look nice.
yeah. And you're actually doing anything productive. But that reminds me of something. About, I don't know, a year and a half ago, me and my buddy were at a Waffle House. And now this is no shade to Waffle House workers, but we're at the Waffle House and this waitress is coming up and she's got a cast on her arm and we're like, "Hey, how'd that happen?" She's like, "Oh, my boyfriend threw me in a wall." Terrible situation, obviously. And we were like, "You gonna
Right?
leave him?" She's like, "No." Why? She's like, "I just don't really care enough to." You don't care enough to not get, like, beat? She's like, "Mm, not really." I was like, "What do you, like, wanna do with your life?" She was, like, 19. She's like,
Yeah.
I don't know." And I was like, "Do you have any, like, dreams? Like a cool car, a nice house, you want on a farm?" And she's like, I kinda want a cat." "Okay, so you can find a cat on the side of the road, like, you gotta shoot big."
There's a
And
step in the right direction
yeah,
anyways, huh?
and she just, like, she didn't care, and then we were driving home, and I was like, "Dude, it's so crazy to me that people live like that. People really just don't care." And he's like, "No,
Mhm.
but, like, if you think about it, we need that. We need Waffle House workers. We need people that just don't care about life." And that's just it's such a weird way to look at life, but I actually invented a
But
name for it.
he's not wrong.
Yeah, it's not,
Like,
yeah, so
that ends up being how people end up stuck in a job like that, and they may be stuck in that job for the rest of their lives
and they don't care.
because they have a weird way of having a self-loathing where they don't value themselves enough to pull themselves out of that situation,
Yeah, yeah.
and
So we
that's what
we
it
call
comes
them.
down to.
Yeah. Yeah, we call them WHOWs. It's an acronym for Waffle House Workers of the World. It doesn't add up at all, but I don't really care. Um,
No,
th
it does work up.
well,
It
the
adds up.
acronym.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, but it's like, the way I guess I view it, I'm not a WHOW, so I guess I'm not in their mind. I wouldn't know, but I feel like it's a cope for failure. I think a lot of people fear failing. So if they set their expectations, oh, I want a cat. I
right.
could walk outside, walk 30 feet, and there's probably some cat in the field I can pick up. It's really that
Yeah,
easy. If you set your goals that low, you'll never fail. But if you never fail, you never learn and you never go big. That's the way I look at engineering, right? I don't even every day I wake up and I wonder, am I even smart enough to be an engineer? But I don't care. I don't care. I'll go as far as I can get. I'll learn as much as I can. And if I fail,
yep.
I fail. And then I stay at that level. I stay at that level where I failed. You don't know your breaking point until you break. There's no
Well,
way. So
there's tons of people in the industry that didn't get a 4-year college degree. They went to
yeah.
college, but they didn't get a degree. One of them is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
He went to
A lot
multiple he
very
went to
smart
multiple
people.
colleges. Yeah. So, yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, my dad, he was in college for half a semester and dropped
Mhm.
out, and he ended up becoming a he was a contractor. So he was at
Yeah,
the position of a mechanical engineer with no degree, no college experience, just hard work getting his way up the chain. And it's just like he's managing people that used to do his job. They were 20 years older than him. That just
sure.
never care. And it's like the fact that people fear failure. It's such a crazy concept because failure is really the best way to learn, I think.
I got one for you. Watch this. Check this out. Give me just a second. Let me move some of my stuff. I got stuff all over the place in my room. So I've always liked engineering graphics and drawing and never had the stuff to do it. So this literally I ordered for like 15 bucks. Look how thick that textbook is.
Yeah,
It's almost everything you'd ever want to know about engineering graphics. The table behind me with the drafting machine.
I've seen that.
Now I'm able to do that. So it's like setting small goals and setting yourself up to be able to do it, right? And people don't want to do that. This is not easy. Same as I had you helping me out with math. Like I've not been able to get back into that with the job change and everything, but I still have all that and I still retained it. So it's like, you know, check this out. You'll like this. So on the bottom of this sheet that I'm working on, let me see if I can pull this up enough to get it on the screen. It may or may not pick up in the camera. That's a strut.
Okay, yeah, I could. Yeah, yeah, I see that.
See
Yeah,
the, see the mechanical drawing of the
yeah, oh
strut?
yeah, huh?
I made that. Like, it's not great,
Yeah,
but
but
you can tell it's a strut,
yeah,
right?
yeah, you can see what it is.
Like, all you got to do is look at it. It's just a strut. So, like you said, people they don't want to push themselves at all. And it's not just your generation. It's my generation. It's 2 generations before you. There's tons of people that are my age that are in a rut and they're perfectly happy being there. And my old country pastor used to always say, James Blankenship, Jim, he used to always say, you know what a rut is? And everybody would sit there and go, no, a rut is a grave with both ends of it knocked out. He's like, you got to get yourself out of that. You
Yeah,
know,
all you gotta do is crawl.
if you're in a rut, you need to be able to understand that you're in one and be able to find a way out of it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's
But
crazy because
people don't want
people
to do it.
they know they're in a rut. They look left, they look right, but they never look up or down to see the opening of it.
Nope.
And it's just like yeah, and it's you can't really help them. How's your job going now?
Oh, it's going great. I
Okay,
love it.
I figured I should ask, but I was kind of curious.
No, it's very, what would you call it? Believe it or not, like you were mentioning about the micro teach. So that's Feynman's technique. You
Yeah,
know, that
yeah, oh yeah,
was learn as much as you can about one subject, teach it to somebody else, and then edit what you need to learn and find any knowledge gaps, right? Well, that's how I tried to teach where I was at. And believe it or not, that's how I'm expected to teach where I am now. So that's a refreshing thing to watch and see. The curriculum's amazing and it's basically total car. So it's awesome and couldn't be happier. It's exceeded expectations in just about every category, every box that you could click. Let's put it that way.
do they let you teach your own stuff there too?
No, you don't have to. That's the cool part because like everything's set up for each day and there's tons of things you can actually teach, unlike where I was at. So yeah, it's actually pretty amazing.
That's good. Yeah,
It's a good fit.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
kind of the way I seen it. And it was the same thing. It was like stepping out on faith and saying, okay, well, these things that I'm doing now aren't fulfilling me and need to change something. And you know, what do they always say? Like, you're not a tree, like you're not rooted where you are. If things aren't going the way that you would expect them to go, you can get another job.
yeah,
So that's what I done. And it worked out. It worked out in my
yeah.
favor.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people in your position at your old job would not have
Mhm.
taken that jump. They wouldn't have taken that risk. And
It's
I
scary, right?
yeah, and I kind of, get as I get older, I realize all the stuff my dad did. He's in a very like good spot now, and so when he was
Yeah.
a mechanical contractor, he didn't like the job. He had to like yell at
Hmm.
people and like fire everybody. He just didn't enjoy it. So he took a huge risk from pretty much being a plumber to buying a suit business and
Hmm.
flipping it around. So he bought this business, and I mean, and we like downsized our house. Like it was a pretty big risk for him.
Sure.
And it worked. It like worked out really well. I mean, we only lived in that house for maybe like 2 years because he flipped it
Yeah.
around so quick and could upsize again. And I never really fully grasped like how big of a risk that was. I mean, he's got 2 kids, he's got a wife, he's got a house. He's got all of this stuff that he needs to pay for. And he
Yeah.
still was confident enough to quit where he was at and move and take into a whole new industry, a whole new business, and do what he did with it. And I mean, it's extraordinary, honestly. I just never even realized it.
Yeah, it's a ton of responsibility that you have on your shoulders, you know?
Yeah.
Like you
Yep.
said, there's obligations that have to be met. There's things that have to be paid for. There's houses, you got to, like you said, even downsize it. Like most people would hate to downsize, even now, like they wouldn't want to do that. You accrue so many things. It's like you don't want to actually get rid of them. I'm guilty of it too. Like I just keep getting things and adding more stuff to my little collection that I have of different
Yeah.
things. As you
Yeah.
see in the background, I got my bookcase kind of set together. So got my books over there, got, podcasting area here. I got a reloading room on the other side of the house up on the second floor. So yeah, it's been a lot to take apart and put all back together. Right.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
we're still moving in. We've been here just over 3 months now. The 13th of this month was 3 months on the button, but still putting things together, still getting things set up the way I want them, that kind of thing. Downstairs, I'm need to move around some things and put the washer and dryer where it goes, but it's all coming together.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember your, garage sale when you were leaving.
Yeah.
I went and got some, computer stuff
Yeah, you
for
got a
building.
Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, I got 2 of them. Yeah, I think,
Yep.
and I'm using, the camera actually from the night vision goggles I built right now. That's why
Yeah.
it's not that good. It's a fisheye, it's a wide angle, but, it's getting
Sure.
the job done.
Tell the people a little bit about that because that was pretty interesting. Because not too many people that were in school that were doing things for automotive were as deep into wanting to learn the way that you possibly were, and especially with the electronic side of it. I know that you. I'm just going to bring it up so people understand what was going on. Like when a curriculum would get thin, like I'd bring in the little breadboards, the electronics kits that you could get on eBay for $20 or $30. It's got resistors and all that stuff in it and have students build those. And you took it upon yourself to go and get a kit to make night vision goggles and go buy extra parts for it and all that kind of stuff. Tell everybody about that. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so well, it wasn't a kit. I just kinda guessed, and it did work,
Okay.
but so I was
So
pretty
you
much I
did
was
research and
yes,
found the things to make
and
it.
yeah. So
That's even better.
that's yeah, that was the goal. So I was pretty much I was in a class. I had a different teacher, and he was talking about how he made night vision goggles, and I was like that's so cool. I was like, man, I wish I could do that. But wait, nothing, literally nothing is stopping me, and everything's so cheap if you do it yourself. So I started
Yeah.
researching, and it was maybe $150. I ordered everything I needed, and I had to fully code a board. I had no idea how to do that. I
Hmm.
had to learn so many different things, and
Use
I ended up
Python.
no, I did it, through the board. It was very
Okay.
peculiar, yeah.
I
It's like a
got you.
little micro SD card. It was awful. It was an awful experience. A lot of wasted time doing that because I would go down a route
Right.
and, like, try it awful,
So it was
awful.
like a Raspberry Pi. You have to use an image
So,
like
it
for
was
your
a
operating
knockoff.
system,
Yeah, it was a knockoff
a
Raspberry
knockoff.
Pi. Yeah. So
I got you.
it was even harder than a regular one because I couldn't go on, like, GitHub and just download software. That's what made it so
Is
difficult.
that there was another one called the orange something. That one was the Chinese version of the Raspberry Pi that's made in England. It was
It was
orange
a
something. I almost bought one of those.
But yeah, I wouldn't.
Has to
I would
have
just
an
go
extra.
pie. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
buy the
would like
Raspberry Pi.
after that, it was called like the potato, like which is pretty fitting because that thing was junk. But
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I mean, it was honestly very fulfilling though. I mean, I remember I was sitting there and I was so angry because I kept doing stuff and everything had a chance of finally working and none of it worked. And it was maybe like
Yeah,
1 a.m. I had school the next day. I had to get up at 6. I remember I flashed the final OS onto it and I tried it and it finally worked and I was like, "Oh
yeah,
my goodness, I've done it." And I was so excited. I walked in our room and there was like nobody out there for me to tell. All my roommates were asleep. It was 1
right.
a.m. I tried to call somebody. They weren't answer. It was like 1 a.m. So, and I mean,
Yep.
I was like, well, whatever, and I was very proud of myself. It's a very, very fun moment. And it really just helped me realize that no matter how difficult something sounds, it's really so simple. I mean, all you got to do is pull like a very small like film out of a camera, and then if it's in low light, it'll automatically try to adjust depending on the camera, and then if
Mhm.
you throw an infrared light behind it, you can see perfectly. Now, was my camera good? No. If you had like actual night vision goggles and you were like looking for me in
Right.
like brush, I would look like a sun in a bush pretty much. I'd probably blind the guy with the night vision goggles because it
Nice.
literally just had like a square of just like a board like a bunch of LED lights, like a column of them,
Mhm.
rows and columns of them, and it was just blinding. But I don't really care. I could walk around my room with them. Very fun, but
Right.
pretty rewarding experience, honestly. And I think it's sad that nobody tries that because did I think I was going to do it? No. About 80% of the time when I was building it, I thought there's no way that I can get this to work. And then it actually I got it, and I was like, wow, you can really just do anything.
Yeah. If you actually wanna do it, right? Like, you have to
Yeah.
wanna do it,
But yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's usually half the battle. That's, like, at least 50% of it, is wanting to do it, and like you were saying earlier, a lot of times people just don't wanna do it. They're
And
just
there's
stuck.
I don't remember what law it is. It's one of those random ones like Murphy's Law, but it's a problem or solving a problem or like okay, hold on. Locating a problem is like half of the solution. Like
Mhm.
defining the problem is half of the solution. Where if you can understand what's wrong and what needs to be done, you're already halfway there to fixing it. And I think
Yeah.
realizing that you can understand anything is just like that. that jump over that, like it's like a huge mountain like this. Once you jump over it and realize you can understand anything, then it's really just a small uphill from there and just, buckling down and really learning some things. It's so rewarding, honestly. And it really sucks to see. Now I finally feel what my teachers felt in high school. Because in high school they always told me that I could do more and I'm not trying. And I was
Right.
like, that's exactly what I'm doing. And they were like, you need to try. I was like, I need to get an A. That's all I did. And they would try to give me harder work to make it harder for me to get an A. And I was like, oh, it's just
Right.
annoying. Like, stop. Like, don't do that. Just let me get an A. And I finally realized why they were doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Those people believed in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, and I've heard this multiple different management classes I've taken and just in general, like typically it's not the person that was easy on you that you remember that actually was some type of a catalyst in your life that changed you.
Yeah.
It wasn't the person that was easy on you. It was the person that was hard on you because they knew that you could do way more than you were doing.
Yeah, like people just fear. I mean, like it's kind of just like working out, right? Like it hurts. It doesn't feel good to work out. You're sore the next
Yeah.
day. It hurts while you're doing it. But and a lot of times it's very small, like progressive gains. But after a couple weeks, you look at them, you're like, wait a second, like
Yep.
wow, look at that progress. I think that that's how we should look at a lot of life, where you don't see changes immediately, but if you just really
No.
buckle down and keep putting that work in, even though it hurts, it's still super good for you, super beneficial. And I think
Yeah.
more people definitely need to take on that mindset with everyday things.
Yeah, and it all comes with repetition. Same as
Mhm.
with lifting weights. It's the same thing, like you were saying. People don't want to work their brain. They don't want to make it hard on themselves. Like you were saying, they would like to get the A. Like, how do I get the A? And it's like I would much rather learn how to fix something rather than how do I just get the A? Because getting the A only gets you past so far. Learning how to do it and learning how to do it properly is a long term goal. That's a long term outcome, right? That's like something that's going to help you way down the road instead of just the A. The A only gets you past a little bit. Knowing how to do this stuff, knowing how to do anything gets you way further down the road, makes you more money, you take care of your family, you take care of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else has been happening in your life since you've been out of school?
Honestly, I've just been traveling a lot. I kind of realized that once again, you can do whatever you want. Nothing really stops you from doing anything. And gas is my car is pretty good on gas. So I mean,
Hmm.
me and my friend, went the whole way around the country. We saw a lot of very cool things that I never thought I would see in
Sure.
my life. And then I got back, and maybe the next weekend, me and my cousin went down to Tennessee, and we went for a nice like car thing down there. Didn't really
Hmm.
end that well, but and
What
then
part of Tennessee?
it was Gatlinburg.
You try to tail the dragon?
No, that was like a couple hours away. I thought about it, but it was like I think it was like way down there.
Nah. Gatlinburg's like Tail the Dragon starts about 40 minutes away from Gatlinburg. You guys should have
Does it
went.
really?
It does.
I searched it too.
Goes all the way to Deals Gap,
Deals
North
Gap, yeah.
Carolina. Yeah,
Oh,
and it
that's
still
probably
goes
why
past
then.
there. Yeah, because if you look it up, it'll probably tell you, it'll give you the Deals Gap address instead of,
Yeah.
like, where it starts at there outside of Knoxville.
But that's what happened then. That sucks because
Yeah,
I really did want to go. I really because I've heard of it and I've heard people going on it. So
that road's amazing. My wife and I was on it in 2015.
on a bike, right? I think I remember you talking about that.
I
Okay,
always wanted to go and do it on a bike. I wanted
that's
to
what it
take my
was.
Ducati. I wanted to
Yeah,
take my Ducati down there and ride it on
yeah.
it, but that probably would have turned out bad.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a, Tiguan R line at the time, so we took the brand new Tiguan down there. It had like 2,000 miles on it. We took a trip down to the Smokies and Gatlinburg, stayed there and, up in the hills. And then I was like, "You know what's there? Well, you know what's near here?" And that was when, I'd read a story in Motor Trend years before that. They had taken the new Corvette, like it might have been a C5, took the new Corvette Z06 down there, and Motor Trend had tested it and took it to the Tail of the Dragon. And that's the first time I'd ever heard of it. And I'm like, what is this thing? And it's like, it's like 211 corners and 11 miles or something like that. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
something crazy. Yeah.
When we were down there, I'm like, I wonder how far away I am from that thing. And I looked it up and it came up with Dill's Gap. And then I started researching like backwards how the road went. And I'm like, well, heck, that's like 35 minutes away. So we went, she
Man.
had the camera in the vehicle. She's trying to take, pictures and
Yeah.
taking video of me driving the car. And I ended up making her sick.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. She was trying to watch everything and hold the video camera the whole time. And it
Yep.
didn't turn out very good.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
so
it's once in a lifetime thing, man. If you get back
That's what I'm
there
saying.
near there again, you should go do it again and do the actual trail because it's pretty
I
sweet.
will. I definitely have to. And I think that it goes back to that thing we're talking about with elders, where I noticed when
Yeah.
me and my friend, when we were going around the country, we were just talking to everybody because, why not?
Mhm.
Just talk to people. And I mean, everybody that was like older, like above the age of 40 that we talked to was like,
Mhm.
I love what you guys are doing, and I wish I would have done that. And the
Yeah.
realization hit me that all of these people are telling me this is such a good idea, and I realized, like, I don't have a job, right? Well, I'm not a farmhand, but that's whenever I really feel like doing it, I can just go over. So I can do
Sure.
literally whatever I want right now. So, next weekend, I'm going to Pittsburgh, which is like
Oh,
four
yeah?
hours away for like a couple days. I'm coming back down, and then same day I'm leaving, and I'm going down to Myrtle Beach for a week just to do whatever. Just because you can really just do whatever.
Right.
I'm thinking about going somewhere for like the entire month of December. Just doing whatever until I have to go to
Make
school
it
in January.
get somewhere warm, right?
Oh yeah, oh 100%. We're only going down. Yeah, me and my cousin are. He's joining the Marines in
Okay.
February, so he's got a couple of $1,000 saved up. So we're
Yep.
we're really just going around doing whatever we want right now.
So he's got money burning a hole in his pocket, huh?
But yeah, because well, he's got he. I mean, I was telling him he was working some job and he doesn't really have any interest. Or back then he didn't have any interest. And I was like,
Mhm.
like how do you have no hobbies? Like how do you just not enjoy any? It just didn't make sense to me. But he so he had all his money and I was like, dude, I don't understand why you're saving this money. You understand that you're gonna make like 2 or 3 times as much when you're a grown man as what you're making now. So this is all
Right.
meaningless. Like he's like, I don't want to go to, Hershey Park. That's like $40. You have like 10 grand.
Yeah.
Like go have
Yeah,
fun.
what's $40 to 10 grand, right?
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And especially when you can make way more when you're older. Go have fun as a kid. And it did hit him eventually. So I'm glad that got through. And then we started going out and doing a bunch of stuff.
You was in architecture and you're talking about going near Pittsburgh, right? You ever heard of Frank Lloyd Wright?
Is that the metal guy? No, that's Carnegie.
No. Yeah,
I don't
Carnegie
know.
was another guy. So Frank Lloyd Wright is a famous architect that did a lot of mid-century modern style homes back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, up into like 50s, 60s is pretty much the big ones. But there's a house outside of Pittsburgh called Falling Water House. That's a cantilever style house that actually overlooks a creek. And the way the creek comes around and kind of meanders, like the house is actually set up where you could walk down a set of steps and you can put your feet in the water of the creek the way the
Wow.
house is built.
I
And the
see it.
inside of
Yeah.
the house, that place is amazing, man.
Yeah.
When my wife and I, when we head back to Ohio to visit family, I'm going to take a detour through that area on the way back and do their tour. Tour is
What's
like
the tour?
$34 a person. Yeah. Or you can go there when they're open. You can go there, just kind of walk around for, it's a lot less money. It's like $8 or $10 a head. But for 32 or 34 a person, you get the actual tour. And then also you can pay more and you can get a private tour also.
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool looking place. I've always wanted to go and check the place out and never had a chance to. And when we were coming here, I was like, I'll take this U-Haul truck right up to that place. I was like, wait, if it's not that far off the beaten path. And I started reading about it and it's like, you should bring a car. The roads get real rural and
Yeah.
it's like you don't need big trucks. And I'm like, I'm hauling a car behind this U-Haul, and it's like a
Yeah.
26-foot U-Haul. I'm like, yeah, it's probably not smart to go there yet, but I want to end up there at some point. It's a pretty cool place. And the guy built quite a few different areas. Have you heard of the Guggenheim? It's a museum, and it's basically a spiral. So on the inside of it, as you're walking through, you're actually going up a spiral as you're looking at all the paintings on the walls and statues and whatnot. It's just the outside of it's strange looking. It looks like a beehive, kind of hangs off to one side. And it's like it's almost non-linear. It almost has no straight lines on it at all. And on the inside, it's big spiral as you walk up. On the outside, it kind of looks ugly, to be
What's it
honest.
called?
Pretty sure it's a
Yeah.
Guggenheim. It's in New York.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a wild looking place.
Yeah. It's
But he was
very
all over the
white.
country. He designed houses clear out in Arizona. He did some like Santa Fe style stuff out there. He would seem pretty flexible, but like the stuff that he built was like nothing that people had built before. So I think I know of at least 6 or 8 pretty prominent homes. The one he built here in near Pittsburgh. He built that for family's last name was Kaufman. So they Kaufman's owned a department store in Pittsburgh, and that's how they was able to commission to buy the house. This was like in the 50s, like I was saying. But the house come in at like double the budget. It took way longer than it was supposed to, of course. And even the engineer said, like, this design is like nothing like we've ever done. The engineers kept saying, we might take all the stays out from underneath this place and it might fall right off over into the water. We don't know because they'd never
Yeah.
built anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's all like anchored into the rock with cables and all kinds of stuff. It's pretty wild. If you got your computer pulled up, look at the interior of that falling water house. It looks like a lodge on the inside, like a place that you would go and hang out. It's
But
got
yeah.
like fireplaces in it. It's real open. Like it's like one of the first open floor plan style homes in the country, if you ask me, from what I've seen, because that's not something that was around back then. House I'm in right now was built in 48, and it's a little Cape Cod style. So 2-story, a 3-bedroom, but nothing like anything like that with an open floor plan.
Nah,
Pretty cool
it's
stuff.
cool. Yeah.
But if you're near there, it's like 24 miles southeast of Pittsburgh. So it's like 40 minutes away from there, something like that.
Where do you post the full podcast at? I see the clips on like Instagram and stuff.
So YouTube, the full one goes on YouTube. Sometimes I'll upload it to Facebook. I'll cut it up and I got CapCut now. So I've been using CapCut to cut some things and do some transitions and different stuff. Just experiment with it, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been putting things on TikTok with it. I've been putting stuff on Instagram with it. And I got my Facebook set up that when I put something on there, if it's able to go to Instagram, it automatically posts it. So I don't have to mess with actually posting it twice. It'll do it all through the same thing. But yeah, it works pretty good. I'm glad to hear things are going good for you, though. Like,
Yeah.
you're in a good spot. Like you said, you got kind of a job you can do, and you don't really have a lot of responsibilities at this point. Wait for school to start, figure out which one you want to go to. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's going to be your major? You said mechanical engineering,
Mechanical, yeah. That's what I'm shooting for.
probably.
I really am so open.
Probably.
I really just, it's like whatever happens, happens. I'm pretty,
You know the question they're going to ask you when you get there. What's your major? What are you going to minor in?
mechanical. I'm mechanical engineering. Minor, I have no idea. Maybe aerospace. I don't know.
I'll say they always ask that.
Yeah, well, that's
They
what I
want
tell
to get
people
a
with
good
mechanical.
feel.
Yeah. Well, it depends who I'm talking to. Sometimes I tell them aerospace, depending on who it is.
Well, I mean, mechanical has a lot to do with aerospace, right? I mean, there's a
It's
structure.
all very.
There's a structure that's inside of that, spacecraft.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
everything else that comes along with it. You still have to know how to build a structure.
All the thermodynamics, fluid dynamics, all that. Very excited to learn all that. And I did, very unrelated to that, I found a shirt that said it had
yeah?
all the planets on it, and it said back in my day Pluto was a planet. Or no,
Yeah.
it said back in my day we had 9 planets, something like that. And
Yeah.
I was like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. So I wanted to buy it, but then I wanted to confirm that back in my day Pluto was actually a planet. So I did like a very deep dive into it, weirdly enough. And so it told me the year that Pluto was described not a planet. It was 2006. It's okay. Well, I was born in
Yeah.
2006. Check again. It was August 2006. It's like, that's when I was born. Check it again. August 24th, 2006. I was like, that's my birthday. Check it again.
No way.
And I kept going, like, I was using Chat GPT to find like news articles. Like, I had to get very like specific.
Right.
And it turned out to be at like noon was when they started the meeting, noon EST. I was born at like 12:46. So I was born
No way.
46 minutes after it wasn't a planet. So I can't wear the shirt and I didn't buy it. But yeah. Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild to think of, though.
Yeah.
Because like both the Voyagers that I've talked about in class before, they're at Wyote. They were sent a year after I was born, 2 years after I was born. So I feel the same way. Like I have this weird kinship with these two spacecraft that are outside of the solar system now, past the heliopause. So it's pretty wild to think of that. So you were just outside of it, huh? You didn't make the cut?
Yeah. I do. I want to like find the exact timestamp where they said it, because they could have covered other things for 47 minutes and then I'd
Right.
be good.
You should get it anyways. It's still the same year.
Yeah, it's still funny. So, and then I can tell that story.
Because back in my day, Pluto was a planet.
Yeah, yeah. I thought it was a very funny looking shirt. I thought it was great, but I don't know.
Yeah, and it got downgraded. I remember that. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like, of all the things that they could be dealing with and doing, that's what they want to put their time and effort into.
Apparently, it's not even like the biggest gravitational body in like the Kepler belt or whatever,
No,
which is
no.
like kind of wild, but it does orbit the
Yeah,
sun. So
should be the Kuiper belt. I
Kuiper,
know what you mean.
Kepler, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
Kuiper. So you're thinking of
Kuiper,
Kepler.
Kepler.
Kepler's
That's what
the
I'm
other
thinking of.
guy.
Yeah.
Kepler's the guy. Kuiper's the belt.
Oh, okay. Okay. So the
Yeah.
Kepler belt. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Because it does.
Kuiper belt's where we get a lot of our asteroids from.
But yeah, yeah. Because I've seen
Get kicked out
like
of there.
the orbit of Pluto. Like all the planets are like right here, all nice, and then Pluto's just kind of
Mhm.
like in the middle of nowhere orbited. But hey, it's still doing. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
they should consider it a planet just because I like them.
Yeah, there's a guy that used to write, he used to write sci-fi, Zechariah Sitchin. You ever heard of him? So Zechariah Sitchin wrote a lot of sci-fi back in the olden days, like 60s, 70s, 80s, kind of along the lines of like when Arthur C. Clarke was writing stuff and all that. But he was doing this thing called like the 12th Planet series. You ever heard of the Black Knight satellite or like planet, what is that planet? There's a planet that they claim that only is in such a wide orbit around the sun that it only comes past every couple thousand years. It only comes back into the inner solar system and it goes all the way back out again on this really far ellipse out into space. But they talk about that quite a bit. And what would you call it? The fringe areas of sci-fi, of science itself, ancient aliens or ancient astronaut theory, that kind of stuff. They talk about that kind of thing quite a bit in that. Pretty wild. Good stuff. That's what I typically run in my time is about my learning time that I do that's not specific to anything. That's what I usually end up listening to is like how they built the pyramids, what's going on at Puma Punku, what are they doing to Göbekli Tepe, Tarahan Tepe, that kind of stuff. So it's like, yeah, it
Yeah.
hurts your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
Uh,
brain squeezer.
yeah. 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 A lot of yeah. Very my
Thanks everyone for joining us. This has been Robert with the Dynamis Pod and Jake.